Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter. It's promptly 1 p.m. Eastern Time here. We're going to go ahead and get started momentarily. A few technical things before we get going here. Well, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. My audio looks like it's coming through okay. Welcome. We're here to talk about payroll, calculate adjustment in Church Windows Payroll. Again, a few things before we get started. Click the little red arrow on the sidebar of your webinar control panel to minimize that. This is particularly important if you're using a single monitor. It allows you to see the full visual effect of the presentation. Or, if you've got a dual monitor set up, just drag that control panel off to the second desktop just to get it out of the way. We are recording today's webinar event. While I know we have an earlier recording of this same topic from a couple years ago out on the Support Center page, we're recording this. It'll be out on the website or it'll be replaced the old one here sometime in the next 24 hours or so. If you have questions, please type those into the questions portion or pane of the webinar control panel. We keep everybody muted just for the interest of making sure you can hear me clearly. Please keep the questions on topic, meaning on the calculate adjustment feature or function in payroll. If there are other questions you have, there may be another webinar that's better suited to answer those questions. Or, of course, please feel free to call our technical support staff to answer your specific questions, okay? The topic today is taken from our P102 training workbook, pages 9 through 15. Again, that's P102, pages 9 to 15. If you have the P102 workbook, you may want to follow along. That's the information or pages I'm using as the printed guided material for today's event. Or if you don't and you're interested in purchasing those workbooks, you may certainly do so from the training workbooks page on our website, as we do try to follow along with the workbooks with our webinars wherever and whenever possible. Okay, so if we turn to page 9, we kind of talk a little bit about that first paragraph there. It is basically, it says that use the calculate adjustment feature when you need to make a change to a person's pay history. So basically, anytime you're wanting to record something in payroll where money is not changing hands, okay? Basically, when we do the calculate adjustment function here momentarily, you're going to see it's going to pop up and say, warning, a check will not be created. The adjustment function is simply a way to change data without changing or writing or printing a check, okay? In whatever capacity that is. I was working with a customer on one of my support calls earlier today where they're wanting to enter payroll data. They're not wanting to go back and key in 9 months worth of data from the start of the year, but they're beginning to use payroll, here in October, but they want to key in their year-to-date totals for the first 9 months of the year. Perfect. That's exactly what the calculate adjustment function would be used for. Or when we need to make a correction or change to a person's pay record, we would use the calculate adjustment. Another common occurrence of why that occurs and why we would use that, and we're going to look at that here today, is basically when we want to assign accumulated vacation or sick time for employees, that we can then, that they have to use throughout the course of the year, okay? So again, many churches will want to keep track of the days of vacation and sick days that are for each employee, and they would just typically assign those at the start of the year, okay? And that's what we're going to do today on our webinar event, is use the calculate adjustment for that. And I'll talk through some other things as we go through each one of those screens. So the first thing we're going to do is we click on payroll, and right here, second option down in the list is called calculate adjustment. So when we click on that, you're going to see the warning that I was saying before. Warning, a check will not be created. When calculating an adjustment, to create a check, please select calculate payroll from the payroll menu. Okay? Very, very important, a thing to understand. It's not meant to produce a check, and it simply will not. Okay? If I did, I'd want to cancel out of that and go back to payroll and calculate payroll. So we click OK on that, and then it pops up. very similar to our Calculate Payroll screens, except with one fundamental difference, and I'll show you that here momentarily. But it says, what date do we want to make the adjustment, okay? So I'll tell you, just as a technician, folks, who's been doing this for a long time in Church Windows Payroll, while I will periodically post adjustments mid-year, most of the adjustments I post are either January 1 or December 31st. Most, not all, but many. Again, December 31st, if I'm wanting to fix somebody's, say, W-2 or pay history for a W-2 or something for the prior year, or so in this case for January 1 of 2020 to assign vacation or sick time to start the year. So we're going to go all the way back to January 1 of 2020 and post that. Now, we're going to look here in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to come back. I should have done this in a little different order, but that's okay. I think it'll be clear. So we're going to do January 1 of 2020, albeit I could use any date I want for this, okay? I could use today, January, December 31st. It doesn't really matter, okay? So then we're going to go to next. And here then, again, we're looking at Calculate Adjustment 2. And what I talk about here, as I mentioned these on my calls, on my webinars a lot, is we notice right here it says Calculate Adjustment -2. So each one of these screens, just like they are when you're calculating payroll or bonus payments or anything else, all have a number attached to them. And when you talk to me on a support call, I'll often reference that screen number on the call with you, okay? Because they are very consistent in terms of what they show. So here's where we then choose the employees that we're wanting to calculate our adjustment for, okay? So I could do it for all my employees, but for just the purpose of our webinar and expediency's sake, we're just going to choose one today. Okay, so we're going to go to specific employee contractor. I'm going to do clear all on the left, and we're just going to choose John Thomas here. Okay, so he's, say, a new employee, and he's got, a certain amount of days or hours that are available to him throughout the course of the year. That we're going to then give him a contingent on his employment to have available to use throughout the year. So that's what's on page 11 of our workbooks, is choosing the specific employee, so Calculate Adjustment 2. So now we've done that. So now we're going to go ahead and click Next and Calculate Adjustment 3. Now this is where I want to pause for a minute and show you how the Calculate Adjustment feature is different from our regular Calculate Payroll screen or Calculate Bonus screen or Calculate screens. So this screen remarkably resembles, it's exactly the same pretty much as our regular Calculate Payroll screen, okay? The main difference on it is everything in these fields is 0, okay? So, everything shows as 0. If I go to deductions, everything's 0. Allowances and other pay, nothing's on here is showing amounts. Why? Because it's waiting for me to tell it what I want to adjust, okay? So if for some reason I did need to make a change to pay, I can just click in here and either type in a positive or a negative value depending on whatever I needed to adjust the current reported figure by, up or down, okay? So that's the key thing to understand about the Calculate Adjustment function, is it doesn't presume to know what you're trying to fix. You have to tell it, okay? So just don't be surprised when you come in here and you're seeing $0 amounts. Sure, if I needed to reduce his base pay, I could come down here and go, okay, I got to take $500 out of his regular base salary. I can just type in there minus 500, okay? That'll then reduce that amount of regular wages by that $500. But that's not what we're doing here today, okay? So then we're going to go to Next. Now we're at Calculate Adjustment 4 at the bottom of page 11 here. And the first thing we're going to do is going to go right down to the bottom right down here and click on the button that says Browse Adjustments. These boxes up here, check boxes, are just for some reports, pre-posting reports we can print if we wish. But that's not what we're really here to look at. We're here to look at Browse Adjustments in the bottom right. So when we click on that, it now opens up the Browse Edit Calculated Adjustments screen, showing John's record, name at the top. Again, federal amount withheld or gross taxable or state or Social Security, Medicare, local. All those fields are 0. Again, if I needed to make adjustments to reported figures on their W-2 whether it was wages or tax withheld amounts or what have you, I could definitely enter those figures in here either as positive or negative amounts, okay? But what we're really here to look at is right down here, this tab called Accumulating Values, okay? We're going to click on that. So here now notice it says Accumulating Hours, Vacation, and Sick Time, all right? So we're going to pause at page 12 here for just a minute and talk a little bit about this, okay? So the first thing I like to point out about this is it says right here, accumulating hours, okay, right there, all right? The first thing to understand about that, that's just terminology that we've used for this particular field. I like to make sure that everyone is aware that this value can represent whatever you want, okay? If you want to pay employees based on a daily rate or, you know, however it occurs as opposed to hourly, you can do that, okay? You just want to be consistent about it, okay? So, and we're going to use this for John today, is we're going to use days. Because again, you can still calculate a value based on a half a day. So, you know, a day would be 1, a half a day would be 0.5, you know, a quarter of a day would be 0.25, et cetera. So you can still calculate a daily rate times that daily breakdown, and it'll calculate that amount of vacation or sick time that's being awarded or used appropriately, okay? But you want to make sure that you're being consistent about it. And the reason being is payroll tracks this. So basically, if I were to put in a rate here based on a daily rate, and then I start paying him, taking his vacation when he's using it, using an hourly figure, it's going to start barking at me when I've reached the max of the number of the figure that I've entered here, okay? So that's why it's important that you be consistent. And I would even probably go so far as to consider suggesting you be consistent for all employees, just for the ease of administration. It's your choice, it's your database, but you know, if you're going to use this value, use hours, then use it for everybody. Again, you can calculate an hourly rate even for salaried employees based on a 40-hour work week. Okay, so 40 more weekly rate divided by 40 hours, or a biweekly rate divided by 40. That's their then hourly rate, or 80, excuse me. So there are ways that those can be calculated. But just from an administrative standpoint, we recommend that you be consistent about that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say that John is eligible for 15 days of vacation days, 15 vacation days contingent upon employment. And if I had to say, okay, we're going to give him a week of sick pay, we would put 15 in vacation, 5 in sick, okay? Now we're going to click apply and okay. We're now going to go to next. We're going to uncheck transfer to accounting. Again, there's no money involved in this, so there's no need to transfer that into accounting. And we're going to simply click finish, okay? It says posted to employee file successfully. So now we're going to click OK on that. And now when we go back to something like reports and say history report, and we're going to choose the employee's detail hours report, we go to next, and we're going to choose John's record specifically and go to next. And then we go to next again. Shows right here, let me zoom in a little bit here, might make it easier for folks to see. Right here, on, a vacation earned, sick time earned, it shows those figures that I entered just now for my adjustment for him. This will also then appear under vacation earned and sick time earned on his pay stub when I print his check or his stub, okay? So again, that's now available for him to be able to take and use as needed throughout the year, okay? So let's walk through a real quick payroll calculation process where that vacation or sick time is used. So we now go to payroll and calculate payroll. We're going to leave it as today's date. We're going to go to next. We're going to choose specific employee. We're going to choose John again. Go to next. And notice here it says, last pay date was 9/30. He is salaried, okay? So again, I would need to determine an hourly rate for him or daily rate for him. But right over here under vacation, okay, I would put in either the number or that I needed of the number of days that he had used and the amount of that per day daily rate for that. This is essentially, folks, an hourly field, okay? You either put 1 times whatever the gross amount is, or you put in the number of days that they're taking or hours times their daily or hourly rate, okay? It's a very important distinction, okay? So I would need to make sure that I calculate his, daily rate if I'm going to be entering it under days, and then make the adjustment to gross pay accordingly, okay? So let's say he did, so we're talking about 788. I'm sorry, I don't know what that, I'm going to guess on that figure. So I would come over here and I would have to then reduce his, regular pay rate by the amount of the days an hour, an amount that he was being paid. And then over here I would put 1 under vacation, and then I would put whatever that daily rate was right here under pay rate. Okay, so we're just going to say it's the 188. It's not. But it's whatever that hourly rate is, okay? But if I were to try to go in and enter this as, say, 30 hours times whatever an hourly rate was, it would bark at me because it would go, hey, there's not enough accumulated vacation or sick time based on the figure value you've entered. Let me do it. But it just warns you that that's the case, and that's what occurs regarding that, okay? So then I would just go ahead now and I would continue to process his check like normal. So on his pay stub, when I do the print checks, assign check numbers, click finish, it now goes in, and I'm going to just enter a check number here, and we're going to go to next. And let me zoom in on his check stub right here. So right here, let me scroll down just a little bit, make it easier for everybody to see. So we see right here under his stub, here's his vacation earned, used, and how much is still available. And then under sick time earned, 5, none used, 5 still available. Okay? So just FYI, once you max out that limit on that, that's where the system's going to throw up a message at you saying the payroll, the amount of vacation that you've entered exceeds the amount that's available, okay? Let's cancel out of that. We're going to go in and look at one more thing here. So now if we go back under data setup and employee file, we're going to find John Thomas's record right here. And then right down here at the bottom of our, sorry, I'm forgetting which tab it is. General 2. Sorry, I'm pretty sure it's down here. No, it's not. I apologize, folks. Where's that? There it is. The other option that you have for recording vacation or sick time, if you choose not to do the adjustment, is to come in here and enter an amount that they can earn based on how many each time they work. They earn a check. So if it's actually earned vacation or sick time, you would divide the number of days or weeks or hours or whatever it is that you have, and then put that figure in here by the number of paychecks they receive, and then enter that figure in here. So then they're earning their vacation or sick time with each successive pay date, pay period or pay date or paycheck. Okay, so that's just an important thing at the bottom of page 15 there that we want you to be aware of on that. Okay, so folks, I do most of my calculate adjustment functions at December 31st or January 1. So if you're needing to fix an employee's W-2 or pay record or, totals that are reporting on their payroll file, as long as they don't need to be paid any money, that calculate adjustment feature or function is going to allow you to do that. Okay? So just be aware that calculate adjustment function is very powerful in terms of getting your pay records to show the exact figures that they should. So that is our topic for the day.